Hello lovelies, you're welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's tutorial, I'll be learning how to make this Satin Zara Cap, which has net embellishment in front and double bow design at the back. If you are just viewing this channel for the first time, thank you so much for watching our video. Please do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss out on other incoming well-detailed tutorials. In today's tutorial, the materials used include satin fabric, of which you'll be needing more than half a yard but not up to 1 yard. You'll be needing your marco, your nets. Half yard of your net fabric will be more than enough. Also be needing your crinoline so as to get the bow design at the back. And then we have your scissors, your measuring tape, your matching color of thread and needle, as well as your gum and other appliques for embellishment. For this tutorial, we are working on a Zara cap design, and the Zara cap has the band, of which we'll be adding marco to it to make it stiff. I'm making use of satin fabric, and this design is not lined. In addition to the band where the marco is, there's going to be the net design on it. And then at the back, there is this double bow design which has crinoline inserted in it, and also the flap at the lower part of the bow design. So this is what makes up this tutorial. And then I'll go ahead to illustrate how to make the Zara cap first, and thereafter we'll talk about how to achieve the design. Starting with the Zara cap, I have the fabric for the Zara cap. The measurement is 25 inches for the length, which is the head circumference, and 18 inches for the width, 25 by 18 inches. Now for the marco, which is for the band, I have 2.8 inches for the width and 18 inches for the length. For the mesh net design, that is the mesh net fabric, I have 25 inches for the length and 3.5 inches for the width. So this fabric comes in different colors. For the bow design, we'll be needing 2 different pieces of fabric. The length is 22 inches while the width is 11 inches. In addition to that, we have the 4 pieces of fabrics for the flap design at the back, 4 pieces. And the measurement is 7.5 inches for the length by 3.5 inches for the width. And then there is also the crinoline design, and the length is 22 inches. Please note that this is the big size of crinoline. Now starting the tutorial, I have the fabric for my Zara cap. I will get it, I will fold it into 2 equal halves so as to be able to locate the middle of the fabric, and that's what you see me doing in the video. Thereafter, I will set my fabric on my working surface with the wrong side facing me. Then I'll go ahead to get my marco, fold it into 2 equal halves, and then get my chalk and mark the middle part, or better still, get my scissors and make a notch at the middle. So as soon as that is done, I'll place my marco on the wrong side of my fabric and ensure that the midpoint of the marco and the fabric aligns. Then you see me folding the fabric down on the marco, and then there should be allowance at the edge. So I'll be able to fold my fabric in, the rough edge of my fabric, I'll be able to fold it in as you see me doing. Then I'll place on my sewing machine to sew from one end to the other end. And here I have my fabric with it sewn from one end to the other end, and this is how it looks like. Now I'm going to be getting the mesh fabric. Okay, remember I said 3.5 by 25 inches. So this is my mesh net fabric. Pay attention to the edge. I had to take my time to trim off the edges, and if you will notice, both edges, there's difference with both edges. The second edge on the lower part is sharper. That is it. It is very sharp. Why the other part I was showing you earlier is finer. Okay, so when you are trimming the edge, the part that is going to be towards the face should be finer, while the other part that is going to be towards the back of the cap can be rough. Now place your mesh on your fabric. Fine side of the mesh should be facing the fine side of your satin fabric. Okay, you are going to place it like half an inch of the mesh fabric on your marco, and you sew on it from one end to the other end. Now this is my fabric I have sewn down, and I trimmed off that excess allowance. I had to sew on the same sewing stitch I use in closing the fabric so as to secure the marco. That's what I want you to get. So when you fold it to the other side, you have the fine side of your marco facing you and the wrong side inside. Now please, once again, remember to pay attention to the edge diag while trimming off the mesh fabric. Okay, but then at the end of the day, you can try to embellish it with any applique or trimming. Now go ahead to fold your fabric into 2 equal halves as you see me doing, and then place on your sewing machine, sew from one end to the other end so as to form the cap. Right here I have it already sewn. I've trimmed off the excess fabric, and then we'll go ahead to make our running stitch, which comes immediately after the band down to the end of the fabric. So as soon as that is done, this is the wrong side. Please always endeavor to weave the edges of your fabric before your running stitch so as to give neat finishing. And then on turning it inside out, we have this. I'll go ahead to adjust and set my fabric in place properly. Okay, so this is it. And then if you pay attention to the edges once again, you will see how neat it is based on how it was trimmed. And then so that ends it for the Zara cap, and we'll move to the design. Now what I'm having here are I'm having the fabrics for the flap design at the back. There are 4 pieces in total, and you pair it in twos, that is 2 to 1, 2 to 1, to give you 4 pairs. So I joined all 4 pairs together. The width is 3.5 inches, and from the left side I'm going to measure 1 inch and mark. I will go over to the right side, measure 1 inch and mark it also. Okay, and then I'm going to take the measurement of the length, which is about 7.5 inches. Now I had to use my chalk to mark it again so that you can see it. So this is 7.5 inches, and I'm going to mark out 5.5 inches. That point where I have 5.5 inches. So I will now make a line from that 1 inch mark down to where I have the 5 inches for the left side. And then I'll move over to the right side, make another line from that 1 inch mark down to the 5 inches mark. We're trying to get that A shape on the fabric. Thereafter, I'll get my scissors and trim off that marked part off. So as soon as that is done, this is what I get, and that is how it looks like. And I'll go back to separate them again so that you can see the shape. Now pair it 2 to 1, 2 to 1 with the fine side facing each other. Place on your sewing machine and sew 3 edges. Okay, leave the top open. Now coming to the fabric for the bow design, fold into 2 with the fine side inside and sew from one edge to the other. I have the fabric for the bow, and then I'll go ahead to turn it inside out. Okay, remember I said fold the fine side inside and the wrong side outside, and then sew from one end of the fabric to the other, and there are 2 pieces of fabric. So as soon as I'm done turning it inside out, I will get my crinoline, which is of the same length, and insert my crinoline in each piece of fabric, and then you can go back to iron it out to straighten it. Now while working with certain fabric, it's necessary that you iron your fabric, so as to straighten the fabric and make it have this beautiful outlook. So I'm done setting my fabric, my crinoline, my fabric, and I've adjusted it so that it fits properly. Then I'll go ahead to fold it, bring both edges to the middle because we're trying to achieve a bow design. And then you see me trying to make a running stitch at the middle so as to hold both edges in place and then get my design. So this is it for the first piece of fabric. I'll go ahead to secure it and then repeat the same thing for the second piece of fabric. Get both edges down to the middle, place one on each other so that they overlap, and then get your needle and thread to make a running stitch through the middle of the fabric. So this is it. I have both the fabrics, and I'm going to be placing one on each other. I'll adjust it in such a way that one is on each other. I'll pull my thread, tie it around a bit, and then secure it in place so that my design stays together. Okay, remember one should be on each other. So this beautiful double bow design that we're having here. Oh my. Now, as soon as that is done, you can now go ahead to tack it down to the turban cap or get your flap design first and attach on it. Now, remember that I had earlier said you sew 3 sides and leave the top open. Okay, that is the top that is open, and we're going to turn it inside out from that open part. Now, while working on this design, you can decide to add your stay to it so as to give it a bit of weight. It's still okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So this is me still adjusting the fabric, and then I'll go back to repeat the same thing for the second piece of fabric and then get back. Right here, I have both pieces of fabric already turned inside out. I'll go ahead to place one on each other. I can get my pins to hold it in down, or quickly take it down to my sewing machine and sew it at the tip so as to secure both together. So this is it, and then I will get that bow design which we worked on earlier. I will place that flap at the lower part on one side of the design so that at the end it comes out looking like this as you see in the video. So I'll go ahead to tack this together using my needle and thread, and then I'll get back. At this point, everything has been tacked together, so it's no longer coming off. And what we have to do, that is, we'll have our design ready, and we also have our Zara cap ready. So all that is left for us to do is to join all together by stitching. Okay, so after stitching, everything becomes one. And for the middle part right there, you can use any applique to cover up that sewing thread or needle, or better still, you can create a different fabric for your loop design. So that's it for this tutorial. I'll place on my dummy head to show us the final outlook. With this, we have come to the end of today's tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. This was my first attempt on this design, and you can see that the edges were a bit rough. So to cover that up, you can make use of any applique or trimming, add your glue on it, and then place it round the edge of the fabric so as to hide that rough edges. If you got value from this tutorial, please like, share, and don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section. Until our next tutorial, bye.